good morning. Welcome to Faith Over Breakfast on a sunny Tuesday in Tucson, Arizona at XO Coffee. Eric and I just recorded this episode, and we think it's pretty good. Gets a little heavy toward the end there. I'm a little uncomfortable with it, but Eric's pretty happy about it.
Yeah, I'm grinning today.
Yeah,
I'm kind of, I've had 2 cups of
smiles.
coffee, and I earlier played basketball with a 7-year-old.
What?
Yeah.
Man. Well,
And he's like an encyclopedia of sports knowledge at 7, and so he's hilarious.
So Eric's coming in all energized, and so watch out. So anyway, we hope you enjoy this episode, episode 31.
31, we can say it with confidence.
We can say with confidence this is episode 31. So thanks for joining us. Enjoy the podcast.
Welcome. Oh, yeah. We're on. All right. Hey, welcome to Faith Over Breakfast. My name's Eric Deepen, and I am pastor of the Village Church, and I am sitting here with Andy Littleton, which, by the way, Littleton, like, where does that name come from? Does it have, like, some roots in Europe? British Isles.
I would, yeah. It means little town.
Little town. Yeah, well, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you're the pastor of Mission Church, and Mission Church is kind of interesting in that it is a merger of Midtown Church and Epicenter, and so it has some age to it, and yet you can legitimately say your church is young, barely over a year, or have you guys hit 2 years now?
We're barely over a year old as a merged church.
Yeah, so you're young and yet you're old. Like you have some a little bit of age. You're like a good beer or a good...
That's young and old.
Young
like
and
it sat
old,
in the vat for a while, and then it got rebottled, and it just went out on shelves.
Yeah, something like that. But it's kind of a little bit handcrafted, but with some experience.
I see.
You've made a lot of the mistakes before you had to start Mission Church.
And we're still making them.
Oh, of course.
Yeah.
But they're new ones they're more mature mistakes.
Mature mistakes. Yeah. Like the mistakes parents make.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Okay.
You got the married thing, like got married, figured out how to, which side of the bed you're going to sleep on.
Yeah.
What kind of decorations you both can handle, that kind of thing.
Yeah, well, are you supposed to have all that figured out at this point? Do you have that figured out?
Yeah, I think we do.
Yeah, we've got
to that point we just don't care.
Yeah, that's probably where it's at. We're not quite there yet. Anyway, hey, that reminds me to say, because when you mentioned this handcrafted beer stuff, we're sitting up above a really great coffee shop and a really great little bar here in town.
Yeah.
Tap and Bottle.
Wait, so this is Tap and Bottle is in here now?
No, it's just right next door.
Oh, it's next door.
Like right to my left.
To your left.
But for those of you who are listening, we're in Tucson, Arizona. We're at a little coffee shop called XO. They serve a delicious breakfast. They let us set up in their loft, so we get to go out to breakfast and not have as much microphone noise as we had 2 weeks ago on our podcast when we went somewhere else. But they make great food and great coffee. Thanks to XO for letting us be here. It's the morning. I'm not ready to have a beer yet.
We would have to have a different kind of podcast if you were having a beer this morning.
Yeah, the kind where you intervened in my life in front of everybody.
Yes.
Yeah, but Tap and Bottle's great too. Everybody, should try it out unless you have a drinking problem, in which case, don't go.
Yes.
Okay. Anyway, yeah, here we are, and Eric, I was looking forward to seeing you about 40 minutes ago.
I know. I was running behind.
Yeah, and this might be a slightly shorter podcast because I will have to run. You were running behind, I will have to run.
What time is your appointment?
Well, I've got to drop off my car at the body shop.
Oh.
Yeah.
Which one?
Caliber Collision on the east side.
Oh, cool. Maybe we can get them to be a sponsor.
Yeah, they could sponsor. They got mentioned here. So yeah, I'll have to run and do that because I got rear-ended before church 2 weeks ago.
Oh.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Pretty exciting. Yeah, no, it's cool. I mean, I'm here.
You're here?
Right.
You don't have whiplash?
A little bit.
A little bit?
But it wasn't, hopefully not too bad.
Okay.
Yeah, but there was a whip. Watch Me Whip, Watch Me Nay Nay.
Yeah.
You know,
All in a seatbelt.
all in a seatbelt. Yeah. So anyway, did you catch that cultural reference?
No,
just made?
I didn't.
This shows
I'm
how old
old.
your kids are.
Yeah.
How old are your kids?
Well, my oldest is 16, and my youngest is about to turn 13 this year. So I'm going to have two teenagers.
Well, so you're not out of the realm of the whip nay nay.
Well, but my kids are pretty sheltered when it comes to all of that.
Okay.
We've worked hard to keep
To
that.
shelter them from the types of things you would have listened to as a child.
Well, their musical tastes are extremely alternative. So, yeah, further down the road even than mine were. So,
Really?
yeah, they grew up listening to Linkin Park and Nirvana and Soundgarden, and so they've pushed past that even to obscure groups that I don't even know about and have to kind of catch up on and listen to make sure that we're.
Which today, with all the streaming, you can discover obscurity.
Yes.
Like, for me, I used to go to the great record store in Tucson, Arizona, Zia Records.
Zia. Oh, yeah.
There's
I
one
love
left.
Zia.
Yeah.
Or I used to love Zia.
There's one. There's
Yeah.
one left. I haven't been in it for a while, which is sad. But my buddy and I used to go in there, and I would just scan through the CDs and look for an interesting cover, and then hope it was decent. I'd buy it.
Yeah.
And that's how I found obscure music, some of which I never listened to again. But
But now you can
excuse me,
go
that
on
Whiskey Town
YouTube.
sandwich is delicious.
It is.
Yeah, now you go on YouTube, and it just starts feeding you more songs after you listen to one, and it just keeps coming. And
Right. And you can find people who nobody knows about
Yep.
who do covers of songs, and they do them better than the artists who sat
Yeah.
and wrote them and crafted them and put them together. There's a lot of good musicians who have an opportunity to just go out there and sing, and sometimes they get known, but sometimes it's just enjoyable to see the
Yeah.
variety of things.
my daughter will reference people that are on TV, and she'll go, "Oh, she was a YouTuber or something." Like that's how she got discovered. Anyway,
Yeah.
that's very different. Do you think there are any pastors getting discovered on YouTube?
Right. Well, I mean, I think at the beginning of this whole podcast thing, I talked about the bandana pastor when I was recognized in California at a church.
As the bandana pastor. You're
On
not wearing
YouTube.
a bandana today?
I haven't worn them a lot. I've started pulling my hair back in a ponytail.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay. That's cool. Just trying to get some more sun on the scalp or
Yeah,
vitamin D.
Somebody at church told me it kind of helps me look a little older and a little more kind of aged.
Aged.
Yeah, the bandana, I'm 45 wearing a bandana preaching on Sunday, if you put it. Yeah.
That was your thing, though.
It still is. I still wear
still
my
is.
bandana.
Yeah. Don't ever a bandana that.
I won't bandana that. The problem is, as I've aged, my hair is actually thinning out.
Yeah.
Whereas when I was younger, it was like really, it was dreaded and big and had a lot of volume to it. So putting it in a bandana was easier.
Uh-huh.
So
Yeah, you got volume. Did you ever go to did you ever get like curl activator?
I didn't need it.
You didn't need it?
No. I had lots of tight curls.
Yeah. Did you ever go to hair product stores in which there were not so many white people?
No, I would get some advice sometimes, but what would be really interesting is wandering in the mall when I was in my mid-20s, is that African American women would stop me at least once a week and say, "Oh my gosh, your hair is so great! I love your hair," and I'm like, "Oh,
wow,"
because it was good hair in those days. Now it's like, whatever.
Okay,
but it was Eric and his hair.
Eric and his hair.
That's what I had. I once had somebody ask me if I was that guy who played in Encino Man.
I don't know. That's way too.
Do you remember that movie?
That's way too alternative for me.
Yeah. Oh, Encino Man. Who was in that? I don't know. It was the guy who played in The Mummy.
Oh, I don't know.
Long
Who's
time.
that? Nicolas Cage?
No, probably. No. Nicolas Cage is losing his hair. It's just like,
Yeah.
anyway, let's move on.
Anyway.
I heard you say that you wanted to talk about the life of a pastor.
Well,
or
yeah,
something like
I
that.
think we are right now. So,
yeah.
here's what I like about our podcast. I could just say why I like our podcast.
I like our podcast.
I do too, and I like it because I've listened to other ones, and you get the impression sometimes that these people are just like, all they do is just talk. They're just like, just always talking about the Bible constantly, and that's good, that's good. But even talking to you right now, it's like there's so much more to like who we are as people that like, I mean, we're not just Bible encyclopedias, and so. I mean,
right.
And so, one thing I like about our podcast is, hey, we're pastors, and we do the whip nene on the weekend. At least I do.
So tell me about the whip nene. Where does that come from? I'm culturally ignorant on this.
It's a song and a dance. I just went to a father-daughter dance with my daughter, and this song is played every year at the father-daughter dance, every single time.
That's really interesting that you would go to a father-daughter dance, because my daughter would not be caught dead at a father-daughter dance.
Oh, really?
She would say, "Are we going to go out?" At any age, she would be like, "No. Let's go out on a date by ourselves. We are not
nobody
going
around."
Yeah, and I'll hang out with you. I'd rather do that than go on a dance anywhere with anyone.
So my daughter and I have done father-daughter dance of some form every single year of her life.
So it's your tradition.
It's a tradition.
So it's in her psyche and ethos.
Yes, it's built in. And then now where we're at is because she's about to go into middle school, so all of her friends are hanging out, and her struggle is like she wants to go and just like run around with her friends, and I'm going, "Hey, sweetie, remember, you and I are here to dance."
Yeah.
And she's like, "Oh, that's right," And then we had this whole thing where like she was like, "Can you just go talk to some of the other dads while I hang out with my friends?" And I actually was like, "No, I set aside this night for you, not for some random dads. I set aside to be with you." And she got like sad and like felt some guilt for like not recognizing that herself, and it was an interesting discussion. But it was good, and you don't get that unless you spend time. But
no, you don't.
But for us, like going out, being around. Anytime I'm like, "Hey, Abby, I want to spend some time with you," she's like, "Can we bring people?"
So you have an extroverted girl.
I have an extroverted child.
My youngest is also the extroverted kid.
Yeah.
He wants to know what we're doing and who we're going to do it with.
Who is going to be there.
And then who we can have over after that's over.
Yeah.
Like what the next, like who's coming over next.
Yeah.
Well, at least you're a good pastor's child, because people are around all the time and you like people. Whereas my daughter, she's like, "I'm overstimulated. I'm going into my room."
Yeah. Which is more maybe my wife in our world, but that's it's interesting, and I'm kind of the same way. But it's funny. We'll be on our way to church, and my daughter's like, "Who's going to be there? Like, are Brandy and Kira going to be there?" I'm like, "I don't know." What about Andrew and Sarah? I don't know.
What
about Nick and Hannah?
How old is your daughter?
She is going on 11.
All right, and my son is 12.
Mm-hmm.
So right here now, like maybe we could arrange something.
Arrange the marriage?
Because they are just alike.
Yeah?
They would just be out there hanging out with everybody
just
all the time.
Hamming it up
constantly.
Hey, there you go. I mean, but don't arranged marriages usually come with a bride price? I do have the daughter here.
I'm willing to pay the price. I'm definitely willing to have somebody who'd be willing to hang out with my son and talk all the time and hang out with friends all the time and goof off and have fun. I'm willing to pay the price. You just start working that out with your side, and then we can bring that maybe as the podcast goes over the next 10 years. We can see if this kind of works out.
Yeah. Okay. That sounds like a plan to me. Man. So you we were going to talk about the life of a pastor to some degree.
Yeah.
And I was kind of curious. I think you and our churches are different. They're smaller. Maybe they're not. The other pastors that are podcasting might have a different life than we have. But then there's some similarities. Like the phone was just buzzing now, and we both had to like put our phones a couple feet away from us.
Yes.
So there's elements of feeling the need to be there for people, things like that. I don't know. Give me some characteristics of what it's like.
I think I'm an even different than you, like I live at a community house and have for almost 20 years. So like, that's I just live with a ton of people as it is. And people, so people are in and out of my house, where you kind of live in community in the sense that you live in a neighborhood where there's a number of couples. I also have people who live across the street who go to my church.
Yeah.
So there's just people all the time.
Yeah.
I have people all the time. And one of the things, last night we were in a leadership meeting, and I was like, okay, like, what is it? If there's just like, what's the one thing that you're really excited about when you think about the village? And one leader was like, well, we have very accessible pastors.
And you were like, yeah, no kidding. I'm here in the middle of the night.
Exactly.
That's funny, because we had a leadership meeting, or elders meeting in our case, because we call your leadership meeting probably has some other name, doesn't it?
No,
like
it's actually a straight up leadership meeting. It's combined what they would call in the CRC a council meeting.
Yeah,
because it's the
not
elders
the
and the deacons basically together.
We
We don't call. We just have village elders and village leaders.
So you don't call it
ministers.
You don't call it like the mud bath or something? Or?
No, I mean the Greek word doulos is like servant or minister. I mean it's where we get the word minister. So
okay. So I had elders meeting last night, and so it's an interesting thing with that sort of stuff and counseling and things like this, where people have jobs, right? Like our people tend to work Monday through Friday, and I don't know about you, but I kind of do too. Actually, we've talked about this before, but I own a little furniture building shop, so there's that. But then people are always needing to get together at night and on the weekends.
Right.
How do you deal with that? What do you do with all that?
How do you deal with it? Right, because there's a lot of stuff to get done in the morning, and there's a lot of stuff to get done in the evening. Well, I don't do any counseling in the evening.
Yeah.
Except for emergency things.
Yeah.
So I try to arrange things at the 4 o'clock, 4:30 to 6, but I want to be home for dinner.
Yeah.
So, I make people hit that. Or, I mean, there have been times where I'm like, okay, well, then I will meet you at 8 or 8:30
after dinner.
Once my kids are in bed, or kind of we've spent time, and then they're kind of headed into that bedtime
but this
process.
Is still very different than most people's jobs.
Yes.
Yeah.
And because, you've got all the administrative stuff that you do, because you can't afford, even when you have kind of an administrative assistant, you can't afford a real administrative assistant in the sense of managing people and making, you don't go to her and say, hey, I need you to schedule these appointments for me.
And you're going to take all my phone calls.
Yeah, and you take my phone calls, and then you can be the gatekeeper for me.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's not that. So you're taking phone calls. Like, I get calls in the middle of counseling because somebody, blew a tire and they're stuck and they can't get a hold of anybody. You know? But you're accessible because they know you're around.
So what kind of weird stuff, just because of who you are, do you get calls about that, like, blown tire? Like, that's who's thinking like, hey, I'm going to call my pastor for a blown tire. Like, this is where our churches are different. Like, I get a certain set of calls. What calls do you get that are outside of the normal scope?
Well, or how about people taking Uber to my house because they lock their keys in their car and I can't think of anywhere else to go.
So they take the Uber to your house.
To my house. Like,
that
I'm
does
like,
not happen.
Even if they have a series of friends that are close, the first person they think about is me.
Yeah.
Or and Rod.
Yeah.
Depending on what side of town, we're like these little, beacons.
They'll help.
A lot less of that's happened in the last 5 years as our church has increased its leadership and its eldership.
Yeah.
So I'll often now find out about a series of events that happened that I was not part of at all.
So I get the call, like, how do I install my ceiling fan?
I get calls for doctor recommendations.
We get that too, mostly because my wife's a nurse, so it's health questions, anything to do with fixing anything. Like,
yes.
Like the fact that, I took auto shop. I tend to maybe every once in a while work on my own car. So somebody's like, something's going on with their vehicle. They're like, oh, Andy might know, or Andy could sell my car. for me potentially, or would know how to do
That's
that.
interesting because, I mean, we have a mechanic in our church, but if I were to think about selling my car, I would probably call you. There's just something about you that I feel like maybe it's because you Instagram car pictures.
I did that.
Yeah, so
I only got halfway through my list.
Yeah,
and then
so I mean,
gotta get back to that.
That's innate. Like, yeah, maybe you should post them on Faith Over Breakfast.
Maybe I should.
So that we could kind of get that sense of like how many cars you've really owned.
Maybe when we do clergy and cars getting coffee, we should just go find all my old cars and drive people around. So my old truck was a buddy of mine posted on Facebook. Somebody at his work has it.
Oh wow!
My old truck, and it looks about the same.
Nice.
It's a very recognizable truck. I couldn't believe it. This is like last week. He's just like, "Is this yours?" And he showed me a picture. Put it on Facebook. Yes, that's my old truck. So maybe we could get that, take people for rides and talk. I really do want to. I want to talk to other pastors about their lives because I think that there's a certain. There used to be a mystique. There used to be this thing of like, these are better people or they're more devout, and hopefully there's a certain level of dedication to a pastor. I'm not denying that. But I mean, these are people that have hobbies. These are people who have issues. These are people who have fears. These are people who are very normal.
Yes.
And I would love to keep having those discussions about how, because, I think in an age where people are distrusting spiritual authority, it'd be helpful to know that the people who are trying to teach you about the grace of God are normal folks who need the grace of God.
Yes.
And I don't know.
Well, I mean, I think as pastors, there's always like two streams, at least my experience. One stream is the people who really see it as a job.
Yeah, and there are those.
And
it's like clock in, clock out. I remember going to school with a guy who was getting out of the corporate world, and he's like, "Yeah, I just think this is a really good career move for me," and I could not relate. Right. I didn't know. I was like, "Career move."
And I think some of those are built around like a less relational model of being pastor.
Yeah. This guy's he's gonna show up, clock in, prepare a sermon,
do his set scheduled counseling, lead his leadership teams or whatever. It's a structured a certain way. Whereas another stream is people who are just all out, sold out to being in vocational ministry for their life.
Yeah,
they want to die doing their own funeral.
Right, and even if they don't have a job, they're in it. They would still sort of do it.
Yes, they would still be doing it.
Yeah, if somebody calls them and says, "Can you meet up?" they're going to do it. Yeah, and that's more, I would assume, you and I.
Yes.
Yeah,
I think we're
Like if the village came to you and said, "Eric, unbelievable, all the money's gone," would you be like, "Well, then I'm not going to invest spiritually in any of you folks. I'm going to go. I'm just going to go get a job in an office."
Yes. No.
No.
No. Right. I mean, I would. We would rearrange it.
You'd figure it out, right?
Yeah.
You would still pastor these folks. Me too.
I mean, I might.
Yeah.
Do it in a different way, or more collectively, or.
But
whatever.
you'd still be leading that.
Yeah. No, it's just what I want to do.
Yeah, I almost feel like it's what I want to do, but it feels like kind of what I have to do. Yeah. It's not in a guilt way, but it's like this is like why I'm here.
Yeah, well, it's kind of like I remember, and I tell this story a lot, but just a few years ago, I was sitting around with people at our church, and one of the guys was like, "Eric, I just want to go hang out with you." And then just as friends, like we'll just be friends. And then one of the other guys just started laughing. He's like, all Eric is going to talk to you about is two things. He's going to talk to you about God and his church. That is what he does.
That's who if you're Eric's friend, that's what you get.
That's what you get. So,
it's not like Eric walks away and is all of a sudden just like, hey, let's play fantasy football, and I got nothing else on my mind.
Yeah, no, I mean, that's pretty much like my family, God, my church, and board gaming.
Board games
are pretty much all I'm going to talk to you about. Because that's what I like. That's what I love. And that's what I want to be part of. And I found the older I get, the narrower I need to be just so that I can enjoy those things. Because there's just so much in the world.
somebody was asking me the other day, because it's really busy. We're working on this building that we bought. We're doing a ton of.
I saw some of those
stuff.
pictures. Wow.
Yeah, it looks like apocalyptic in
It
there
does.
right now, doesn't it? It's crazy. Yeah, it's getting torn up, and hopefully put back together real soon. But we're working on all that. It's kind of crazy, and somebody's like, "So are you okay?" There's a lot going on. And the truth is, I love taking old things and fixing them, and I love like doing church work. And so it's busy and it's a bit much, and this probably wouldn't be a healthy pace for the long term. But it's actually doing things I love. Like with all that going on, like I wouldn't go home, and there's like workaholism where it's like I don't want to go home, so I'm going to stay home and work because I'm unsure of what to do at home or something like that. But for me, like to just go like sit and put on a TV show or something, I mean, I could do a little bit of that, but I think it's like I'd want to be engaged in, like it's exciting, it's fun.
Yeah,
it's what I want to be a part of. I don't know, if you ever relate to that. But anyway, my struggle is to like go, okay, I need to sometimes unplug from this. Just because it's good to step away and it's good to do something.
Right, and I think the hard part is, I don't know, maybe I'll ask you this question. How do you work the church-family balance? Because you have a kid and your wife, and they are the primary thing. They have to be cared for and tended to long before your church is cared for and tended to.
Yeah.
And yet they're all integrated.
Yeah, it is. It's hard. It is all, it's integrated. And I don't know if I've figured out the right balance. I mean, sometimes it might feel balanced to me, but to my wife it does not. Like I kind of alluded to, she's more introverted, and so like a way that, like for me, a really relaxing thing would be to have like 5 friends over and sit around the fire pit and chat. That's, to her, that's like no, please no. She would really rather just sit in a room and have a conversation or just watch something funny on television. Or
Is she a tea drinker?
she drinks tea.
Yeah. So drink some tea.
Drink some tea. Yes.
I feel like introverts tend to be tea drinkers.
Yeah.
Yes. I just think there's like it's a soothing thing that they like to do. Like we're coffee people, we're like
moving.
Let's get our coffee. Let's drink this thing. Let's go. And tea people are like, I just want to sit here and drink my tea and
almost every night she says this routine happens over and over. Like he's sitting down. Lately, we've been watching comedians in cars getting
our
coffee.
Favorite, yes.
Yeah,
we just finished the entire thing. There's none left for us.
Yeah. Well, it's probably good. We're sneaking up. We watch a couple a night, it seems, right now. But we'll sit down and she's in the kitchen. I start watching. She gets up, goes in the kitchen. She's figuring something out. And she goes, "Do you want some tea?" I say, "No." And every time. But yeah, every once in a while, there's like once a year, I'm just like, sure, I'll take tea. But maybe once a year.
Just
otherwise, I'm like...
To keep the routine going. So
just to kind of, or to throw her off a little bit. Or something. But, like what I'm thinking in my mind is what I want is a piece of cake. At any given time. Like if you ever ask, like right now, if you were to say, Andy, would you like some cake? The answer is yes, I do. I would like that. Andy, I should not have that, but I would like that.
Andy is a cake man.
Oh my gosh.
So speaking of cake, Raging Sage has that Guinness cake. If you have that there, okay, you need to go have that.
Guinness cake, beer cake.
Oh, it is the best cake ever.
Sure, great.
You're
any
a cake
cake,
man.
Any cake is good.
Maybe we could podcast from Raging Sage one time
and just eat cake.
And eat cake.
Okay. So down with that. That sounds great.
Anyway, so your wife asked you for tea. You're watching it. She's more introverted, taking care of hers.
Yeah, but then there is a weird thing where when I am watching a show, I want to watch that show. Right. I want to know what is being said. I want to follow from the beginning to the end. My wife will do other things during the show and then will want me to explain the show to her in the middle of the show during the dialogue.
Okay, my wife hasn't got to the explaining part.
Yeah.
But she definitely wants to sit and do other things while we watch the show.
Yeah. And are you more that I actually want to watch the show?
Oh yeah. I want to kind of dig into what's happening and the nuances of all that's happening.
Oh yeah, same here. We'll go to a movie, and the opening scene will open up. There'll be like an explosion, and she'll say, "Why did that explode?" I don't know. It just started. And maybe we're about to find out. I think we're supposed to be.
Yeah, my wife often will be like, "I didn't understand what's going on halfway through the movie. I was just confused."
And you're like, you were writing a letter to somebody.
Yeah. Okay.
Anyway, yeah. So with all that said, have I figured out the work-home balance?
No, I don't know.
No, I haven't even figured out our personalities yet.
Right. Your wife is a mystery that you're unraveling for the rest of your life.
And I am a mystery to her, and
yes.
she's like, why would you want to just look at this, like listen so intently when you could be potentially sending an email and then finding out what happened later, you know? And to her, I'm the utter mystery. So I don't know, and it's weird for us because she's a nurse, and so there's certain nights of the week. Actually, I was really accustomed to her working 3 nights a week, or into the night she would get off at 8:30 or 9. So those were actually really great evenings for me to do counseling with somebody, and then I would try not to do it on other nights. But I got kind of used to that. And then now she's only working 2 nights a week, and one of them has been Saturday most of the time. And that's been kind of different. That's been for me, because then I'm going, I can't schedule that stuff. So yeah, it's every time something changes, kind of trying to figure that out. But I don't know. I don't think I'm particularly good at. I don't think I'm good at balancing like time with friends. I don't think I'm great. I don't think I've ever been good at that. Like, I wouldn't say that's just me as a pastor. I think that's like I'll see my friends very sporadically, like here and there, and the people that I tend to be good friends with are the ones that's okay. People who tend to be like, I want them to like think about me all the time and check in with me. I think they become friends with somebody else.
Right.
Like my closest friends, like one of them I didn't talk to for like a year, and then we got on the phone and we were just like, hey, what's up? You know, how's it going? And we were both fine with that.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't closest friends. Like I have a hard time understanding after 18 years in ministry what a friend is.
Yeah.
Because I've walked through life with so many people, and through the painful times and the joyful times, and I'm the pastor, but I'm also the friend, and I'm also, it's complicated, especially in a communal, like very high relationship church.
Yeah.
Where you're all kind of in the same mud together and the same mission, and especially I think in churches that are highly discipleship oriented in the sense of, you know, when you're discipleship oriented, you have a mission together, and that mission becomes a huge defining point of your life, even if you have another job. The mission of your community is, you know, high priority. So
huge piece. Yeah. Do you would you say in those relationships that they are balanced, as in like your input into the other person is matched by their input into you?
And I think that varies.
Depends,
from person to person,
Sure.
but I also, you know, as a pastor, it's how willing am I to allow other people's input.
And how bold are they, brave are they to think they can offer
speak that input, I mean, I think the hard part is, I remember Dan Allender said that, like, if you're not on my mission, or our mission isn't the same mission, we're not friends.
Yeah.
We can be acquaintances, but we're not friends because I'm going somewhere.
Yeah.
And I can't undo where I'm going in order to accommodate. Like, I'm headed this way. This is where I've been called. If you want to join that and it's your calling too, then we're going to be friends because we're going to sweat it together.
Yeah, that's an interesting I mean, that's even a piece of like of marriage and stuff like that. Is,
Yeah.
You know, when I've been reading Tim Keller's Meaning of Marriage, and that's when I work through with couples, and that's a big piece is that you would be working toward the same goals. Like that's where the marriage deepens, is when your goals are the same and you're striving that way. Because then I would think, instead of it being like, oh, you're over here doing this, and oh, you're over here doing this, it's like when the one person's over here doing this, well, you want to be there too, because it's. But that's ideally how it should be.
Mm-hmm.
But no two people are always going to always be on the same page.
Right.
I mean, there have got to be days where you and Sue, though you're very much in this together, have a different opinion on what that might look like this week, right? Or,
yeah, I think sometimes just in what we're feeling stress-wise or pressure-wise. Right. I think, like, one of the things that I don't take people through, though I recommend they read, is A Severe Mercy by Van Auken. I don't know if you've ever read that book.
Heard of it. I haven't.
There's anything that they talk about in just the context of love is that you end up to be truly in love and to create like a barrier around your marriage is to love the thing that the other person is good at better than they love it.
Yeah.
So, to know it and to be so involved in it that they feel utterly enjoyed because you are able to be in it with them and understand it. And so they're not just telling you about it and you're just listening, but you actually can engage it in a way that's... so when you do that, you lose like this demand that the other person come over and do your thing and care about you because you're just pouring yourself out. And if they're pouring themselves out, you have this cool kind of... It's not an easy thing, but it's kind of what we started out like trying to be about, and what I challenge people to dream about, because it's a very Christ-like thing to do, to pour out your own self for the sake of someone else.
It's interesting. That's hard, because I know, like, I'm thinking about my wife and I, and she, as a nurse, she's got very much the scientific brain.
Mm-hmm.
She sees things black and white and formulaic. I've got very much the, more the creative, I don't know, when I, stuff like in ministry, like I'm always looking below the waterline. I'm always thinking about what's going on underneath this. What are the motivations? What are the, that's just how I think. I mean, it's not just because I'm in ministry, part of why I am, because that's what I do.
Right.
And so we'll often find ourselves where, we'll sit down and be like, how was your day? And, well, somebody came in with a hemoglobic, contusion on the right side of the abdomen, and then we had to do a double cardiology and slicey, and I'm sitting there going, oh, I have no idea.
Right.
And then similarly, like some of the stuff that I do seem very. I don't think she gets it. So you sit with people. Yeah. And that's work.
Yeah.
I want to go out to coffee with people. You do that all day. How is that a job?
Well, it's interesting because Rod's married to a nurse.
Yeah.
And he talks about the change in his relationship was when he started reading nursing magazines.
Yeah.
So he would start asking her questions about things that he'd read and started getting into that kind of process. And he said that he had a huge transformation on their marriage because she finally really felt like, oh, he actually knows something about this now. Yeah. And then I think because Sue and I have done it together so much that she gets it, but I think it's hard to understand what a pastor does.
Yeah. Totally.
It doesn't, like, you drink really good coffee?
Yeah. Sure. Yeah, I do.
You eat Whiskey Town.
Yeah. Poor you, right?
Yeah, poor you. You can do podcasts with another pastor?
Yeah.
What's this?
Yeah. And I don't want to say, and there are, I do love it. But then there's a high relational, emotional investment that's always there.
It's exhausting.
It's exhausting. And I think we've talked about this with like woodwork. We've had this discussion, right? How like my buddy, the pastor in Seattle, was making the
last podcast.
Yeah, we did. Yeah, how had to make things out of wood every once in a while because you could actually complete it, and yeah, the ministry, the messiness of it, how it never totally resolves, how you meet with somebody for hours and hours and hours and hours, and it doesn't fix things. There's movement, it's good, but you don't get that satisfaction of like the disease was treated and the patient is healthy, done.
Right.
Which nothing's quite that simple, but
yeah, no, I understand.
You know, yeah.
Let's do a podcast test, okay?
Podcast test.
So I don't know, maybe you're not. I think you're like me, and that you really long for people to say, Andy, like when you said this, like it really helped me think about this, and this, and change the way I behave or the way I think about life, right?
And my life is different forever.
Yes, we want that. We long for that, right? I can remember in the middle of ministry, I would have these dreams that I would show up to my house after a long day and my church would be there. Mm. And they would be like, hey, Eric, we just wanted to let you know this is what you've done in our lives. This is what God has done through you. And here's how it's changed us, right? So here's a podcast test. Let's put it out to our two churches and say, hey, like if Andy or Eric has said things to impact you in a way to draw you towards Jesus, let us know. Tell us.
Oh, man.
So that we can experience the loneliness if they don't.
Yeah.
And disappointed.
So you are also inviting one of the most uncomfortable things in the world for me, because I don't have that dream.
Really? You don't have that? You really don't want to be affirmed?
I do. But it also is extremely uncomfortable for me. Like, it is so uncomfortable. And that's a problem. It is. But, like, I get like, the heebie-jeebies when somebody's like, that what you did was so important. Like, it, you know, I'd have to unpack that. But, like, it's a weird thing. I don't know what to say. Like, you know, part of me wants to go, like, first of all, like, you have no idea how much I struggle to believe the things that I say. Like, so please don't put me on a pedestal. You know, please. And then there's another element of, like, just, I don't know, just, like, feeling uncomfortable with praise. It's just an uncomfortable thing.
Yeah. Maybe you could do what, like, the football players do when they score a touchdown. Every time somebody gives you a compliment, you can just look up, point in the air.
Please. Yeah. It was all God.
All God.
I didn't do anything. I didn't prepare for that sermon.
Yeah. Well, maybe next podcast we could sort of unpack that a little bit.
Oh man, go for it. Yeah,
that'd be fun.
Yeah, I'm open to it. It's a weird thing. It seriously is. Like, I have to like gear up for, like, I'm gonna let this person thank me, and I'm going to celebrate with them. It's not that I don't want to. It's like a fear. Like, yeah.
Cool.
It's weird.
Well, so you said that you had a body shop thing you got to do. You got to take your car to the body shop.
I do.
And so I think we should probably end this podcast.
There you go. Well, now that it got nice and
deep.
And murky.
Well, we want to leave people with sort of a seriousness of that.
Yeah.
Pastors are serious people.
Yeah, they're serious. They're always thinking about deeper things.
We try so hard.
Yeah.
Try so hard.